So in this review, I'm gonna talk about the Metal Gear Solid 2: Sands of Liberty, and it's the one PS2 game that I remember was a huge fan of. It was actually my first Metal Gear Solid game that I played. I played at my friend's place, and yeah, it was an awesome game. I thought it was just something new at the time. I think in terms of the graphics and realism. I think this is the kind of game you have to like live there to kind of appreciate it. So the question is, has this game held up? In terms of art design and graphics, this still does hold up in that way. It's kind of cool looking, uh, even though I guess it's definitely a game from that era where graphics don't look as good as the Xbox 360 or the modern graphics, but it's cool. It's a pretty alright game. Um, they also improved some of the gameplay elements, like for example, you can, in a sense, aim your gun in first-person view. I think there was some case where you could like be in first-person view in Metal Gear Solid on PC, but you couldn't actually aim around, like manually or something. So basically, this is like the first Metal Gear Solid that you can actually aim at the head or something in terms of weak points. So if you're like where to shoot someone in the head, then they go down easier in terms of tranquilizer guns and stuff like that. In terms of making them sleep and such. And I do think this revolutionized some stealth elements, at least in terms of better gameplay and such. I mean, I guess Metal Gear Solid 1 or the previous one was more innovative on that because in those games there was this revolutionary idea of, at least in Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake from 1991 or 1990, I think it was made on MSX2, or it was released later on Metal Gear Solid 3 Special Disc. But essentially, you could like crawl under object, and I don't think I'm not sure if there was any stealth game that did this, but I think that was historically that was pretty cool. But also, even if they had some cool ideas, like you could hide inside a closet, and there, I'm not sure if that has been done in other games, but I thought that was kind of cool. So yeah, and it's definitely, it's a very addicting story too. It's a fun game, and uh, so what review would I do? Oh, yeah, I guess I can talk about something too, because I think a lot of people, even my friends at the time, did like that they couldn't play as Snake, they had to play as Raiden, and nobody liked that guy back then. I had no problem with him because this is essentially how I got introduced to the series. So I guess this didn't bother me as much as they. So maybe that's why. Um, but yeah, in terms of overall game and such, this doesn't really do massive new things, but it does improve on the game controls. It feels way better than it did in the first game on PS1. But um, so what should I give this rating? I'm a little unsure here. Let me think. So okay, so I come to a verdict now. I think the only criticism in retrospect that I have this game is I think the problem is there is not really much areas to visit in this game. I mean, you are essentially just stuck on two areas in the whole game. I think the most interesting area was really being on the ship in the Metal Gear Solid. When you play a Snake, and with Raiden, I think my problem is it didn't add so much variety as the first game did. So in that sense, in retrospective terms, I sort of have to give this game a 6 out of 10 in rating, because I just, even if I do think the genius of it is really the end codex scene, which I won't spoil, but it's kind of relevant to today's world in at least let's just say it has something to do with the internet. That's all I'm gonna reveal. But yeah, essentially, um, that my problem is in terms of gameplay. I think the problem is it doesn't really open up to new stuff as like other Metal Gear Solid game or Metal Gear game. I think that's why this game, in terms of game variety, I think this is it's not the best. Even if I loved this game as a kid when I was 13 years old, and I do still like this game, but in terms of what I could do with it, I think they could have done more in my view at least. So that's why I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. But in terms of gameplay, it's very good. I just think they should have done more with the game itself. So I don't think I would not give this a higher than 6 out of 10. I, for example, think that other Metal Gear Solid or Metal Gear game has done way better on in terms of the openness of the games in itself. So yeah, so I do have huge nostalgia for this. I do think it's just insanely fun, but I just can't give it more than 6 out of 10. It's a good game, but it's not insanely good. I think the first game on PS1 had more variety to it when you kind of went around places. So I think that kind of did it better, even if the controls was it was a little bit hard to work around with the controls sometimes. But the point is, it still was a stealth game that tried to add variety. So two is a little bit more on the nose of it. It does add better gameplay, but the variety of levels I don't think make up for it. So that's just my criticism. Is it's a solid game, but not as amazing as the other Metal Gear or Metal Gear Solid games. But I do have personal bias that I do like this game, but I can't objectively give it like a seriously high rating. But it's good personally. I think it's good. But yeah, that's my review of Metal Gear Solid 2: Sons of Liberty. Thank you for listening, and bye.